movies and games and TV shows, the Cinemaniacs podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the Cinemaniacs podcast, where we talk movies, games, and TV shows. I am Maceo.
I'm Matthew.
And we're the Cinemaniacs. And welcome back to another eventful episode.
Yep.
We got a lot to talk about today. We got a lot of news to cover. Some Beau Is Afraid. We saw Beau Is Afraid. The season finale of Mandalorian came out, so we'll be talking about that, our thoughts on the entire show. But why don't we go ahead and hop right into it? So,
let's get it.
The first thing that I have up here is they announced the Knuckles spinoff, and it started filming. So the Knuckles live-action spinoff to the Sonic movies has started filming with Idris Elba. I don't really see why we need a spinoff of a character that works best when he's with, the other Sonic characters.
Yeah.
But it could be fun.
Yeah. Definitely don't see it as like a needed, project or anything, but
yeah,
definitely could be just a fun little thing to see and see how it goes. I'm sure that as long as it's being made, by the same like creative kind of heads and stuff that were behind the Sonic movies, I'm sure that it will have some kind of heart behind it and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. We also have Squid Game's American remake. Why? Why do we don't need this? This is I don't agree.
Yeah, I don't know who asked for this one.
The whole point is that American Squid Games, that's just Hunger Games. I mean, that's just all that is. So we already have a American Squid Games apparently. But I don't know. We don't need an American Squid Games. I don't know why they decided to do that.
Yeah.
Speaking in weird decisions, Sega decided to buy Angry Birds for $77 million.
Yeah, I heard about this. Yeah.
Why? Yeah, let's buy a property that's been dead for 10 years. Yeah, I don't understand this business decision. Angry Birds are coming back. They're gonna be bigger than ever,
I guess. Yeah.
I suppose. Netflix is no longer going to be doing theater releases.
Okay.
So no more money. I mean, no more extra money, I guess.
Yeah, I think I saw something about like a statement that like I don't know if it was like the CEO of Netflix said or whatever, but someone said something about like, yeah, new theatrical releases just aren't in Netflix's like game plan or whatever, essentially, and that their bread and butter is sticking to the kind of window that they've been at, with the streaming service in general,
Right.
which is like the straight to the streaming service kind of thing. Yeah.
I guess, but also, I mean, theater experiences just can't be beat. So it's like, I mean, maybe if you drop them, I think they've dropped them at the same time usually, but I mean, it just gives people an option. I mean, they're already paying for Netflix, so they might want to use it and watch what's on there. But some people who don't have Netflix might want to go see that movie,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know, just a strange decision. But some actual like movie news. We got a Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire teaser and announcement. I personally, we were talking about this. I personally am a MonsterVerse fan. I enjoy. I honestly like all 4 movies that they've released so far. What are your thoughts on the MonsterVerse? Like,
I don't know if I've seen all of them. I think might just be missing Kong Skull Island, but
okay.
I think that's the only one out of them that I haven't seen. But from what I remember of them, it's been a while since I've watched them. The only one I've watched like semi recently has been Godzilla vs Kong.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I remember of them, I like the original or well, I guess not an original technically, but the 2014 Godzilla movie, like
Yeah.
the first one or whatever. That one was pretty cool. King of Monsters I thought was really good too. Um, haven't seen Kong Skull Island, and then
There's only those four.
yeah, and then I enjoyed uh, Godzilla vs Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
King of the Monsters, in my opinion, is like the best like monster movie we've gotten, just
Okay.
in general. But it like as a movie, it kind of sucks. But like
Mm-hmm.
as a monster, event, it's a lot of fun.
Okay.
And then the first Godzilla movie, in my opinion, is the best made movie of the four. Like out of all four of them, it's got the best story and best kind of balance of everything.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm pretty excited for Godzilla X Kong.
Dope.
Because we saw them fight and it was fun. And I mean, seeing them team up some more is something I'm kind of interested in.
Yeah.
Just big monsters bashing into each other. I love it. Okay. Twilight reboot series. We talked not last week, I don't think, but maybe 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Harry Potter reboot series.
Yep.
This is the same level of why, because
Probably worse.
it
Honestly.
might be because not only are those movies like classics because they're so bad,
Yeah.
but you'd be just remaking something that's not good that we already know isn't good.
Yeah, I can't wait for two genuinely like good young actors to get typecasted for like years after they star
Yeah.
as the two lead roles of
For the rest of their lives.
two genuinely good young actors are going to probably have the worst performances of their life as Edward and Bella.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least that's what happened the first time
It's
around.
literally, yeah, they were casted and they just had a terrible reputation after that until it got better. Both
Yeah.
of them are popping off. So Twilight reboot series.
Don't know who asked for this. Don't know why it's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah. There are no original ideas anymore.
It's so funny because it feels like it, but there are original ideas.
There are for sure,
They're
but
just,
it's tiring. It's when like every week it's just like, oh, this remake or this reboot.
yeah, there's a new reboot of this classic coming out. Why? Stop.
I'd like to. I know that there are original ideas and stuff. I genuinely would like to get some like new like franchises going or something.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. If we are in like an era of franchises and stuff like that in movies, I would prefer to at least get some like original stuff going here
Right.
pretty soon rather than just keep basking in like the same IPs basically for
Yeah.
like ever.
I completely agree. I think with the success of Mario, I think we'll see some much more video game movies.
Yeah.
Specifically Nintendo, because actually they did confirm that there will be more Nintendo universe movies. So I think video game movies are definitely and have been on the come up.
Yeah.
With I think with Detective Pikachu, it kind of showed that they can be fun.
Yeah.
And they can be they can be good to some degree.
Yeah.
And then Sonic came out. The two Sonic movies came out, and they were like, no, they can actually be really good.
Yeah.
But I think yeah, we definitely need to see some more famous IPs get real franchise based. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all these remakes need to stop. We have a movie called Maud v. Maud with Halle Berry and Angelina Jolie. That's gonna be like a Bourne versus Bond movie. That's a
Sounds like a pretty good setup for the movie or whatever. Pretty good what do you call it?
pitch.
Description, yeah, or pitch or a description of the film. Yeah, sounds like it will be a pretty fun action movie.
Yeah. I definitely have some hopes for that. Halle Berry, Angelina Jolie, two great actresses.
Yeah.
Who have both done action.
Yeah.
Many times. So works out pretty well. That sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think my favorite piece of news that I got this week was Markiplier will be directing and starring in a movie about the game Iron Lung. apparently this game came out like this year or something, this or last year,
Hmm.
and he loves it like so much that he like is directing and starring in it. I'm
Okay.
pretty excited for this because Markiplier, I've always liked Markiplier. I didn't watch him as much as most people growing up, but I still like Mark,
Yeah.
and I think it's really exciting that he's getting to this level in his life of like directing a theatrically released movie and being the main character in it
Yeah.
too. Yeah. Did you have any news?
Yeah. So I got Nicholas Hoult is currently filming Robert Eggers' next film Nosferatu in Prague. So
Okay.
the filming for Nosferatu's going on right now.
Awesome.
Guess that's pretty cool to be informed on.
Another vampire movie with Nicholas Hoult. Let's
Yeah.
go.
The Russo brothers are currently writing the script for The Gray Man 2. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Uh,
I didn't watch The Gray Man, so I can't
yeah.
really say anything, but that's honestly kind of surprising.
I honestly was not expecting them to follow up with a sequel, really.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like the kind of movie that would get a sequel, but
Yeah.
that's definitely interesting. Ryan Reynolds, Jason Momoa, Vince Vaughn, and Aubrey Plaza have all been cast in an Animal Friends film described as a live action animated hybrid R rated road trip adventure movie.
Vince Vaughn still acts? That's what my takeaway was when I first saw that news was Vince Vaughn is still alive? Like,
But honestly, though, those four, that sounds like a pretty good
yeah.
little synergy maybe going on there.
Yeah, that's a good lineup right there
Yeah.
for a main cast of a R-rated adventure film.
Sounds like it could be pretty funny if
Yeah,
given the right tone and stuff.
especially with Ryan and Aubrey. They're
Yeah, oh yeah, for
hilarious.
sure.
I'm not the biggest Vince
And
Vaughn fan,
live
but
action slash animated hybrid, that
yeah,
sounds interesting.
very.
Tony Collette recently had something to say about Bong Joon Ho's next film, which Bong Joon Ho is the guy who made Parasite.
Yeah.
His next film, Mickey 17, is it's like a sci-fi kind of
Mhm.
film or whatever. She described it as it's funny without trying to be. It's really deep and sensitive, but also totally crazy. It's pure Bong Joon Ho. It stars Robert Pattinson, Stephen Ewan, Tony Collette, and Mark Ruffalo in the film. I haven't seen Parasite, but I've obviously seen a lot of the praise from it.
Yeah, one.
But I am hyped for this movie because I'm a big science fiction guy, and I really like Robert Pattinson and Stephen Ewan, so
Mhm.
should be pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean it won Best Picture at the
Yeah.
Oscars in like 2020 or something.
20 yeah, it was the 2020 Oscars, I think, but it was for 2019.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so that should be an interesting one. And then there was actually a first look at the next Insidious movie coming out this summer,
Oh yeah.
which is going to be directed by Patrick Wilson, the guy who is like the dad or
He's in
whatever in
all
the
of them,
show.
yeah.
And it's also going to be Ty Simpkins, the kid who from
Yes.
the like original ones who like was the kid who had the astral projecting and everything.
Mhm.
The kid the movies are all about basically
Yeah.
is all grown up and starring in the movie as well. And they're also bringing back the most famous like 3 seconds of the entire Insidious franchise, which is the Darth Maul demon coming back.
I've heard of that, yeah.
And it's literally like most famous because there's like one really good jump scare
It's
with
like
the
the
Darth.
most praised jump scare of all time.
It's literally it's probably the best jump scare that I've ever seen, but it's what made the movie popular. It's literally like,
Yeah.
yo, Darth Maul demon coming back.
Yeah.
So it's pretty big.
Interesting.
Yep. But yeah, so that was the movie news.
That was the news this week.
Yep.
A little bit more of specifically Marvel news.
Some Marvel.
Guardians of the Galaxy has been confirmed for a runtime of 2 hours and 29 minutes. Exciting.
Yep.
Exciting. Speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel released this week a clip from Guardians of the Galaxy 3 that dropped an F bomb. Now it was silenced. It was censored. However, James Gunn on Twitter confirmed that it will be uncensored in the final movie. First F bomb in the MCU. That's pretty interesting. It's definitely Disney testing the waters of how people react to their characters and their movies having, the F bomb or whatever in it,
Yeah.
Definitely a test for Deadpool and future R-rated stuff as well. So honestly, an exciting thing. Something so simple is so exciting.
Yeah.
We got a Adam Driver is possibly in final talks to play Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah.
This rumor has like the most backing to it.
Yeah,
Because
I even heard that it's like so far ahead that I've heard some people say that he's been offered the role
like
for Mr. Fantastic. Like they've straight up been like, "Yo, do you want to play it?"
that's so crazy to me.
Yeah.
Because he's a great actor. But when I think of him, I'm not going Mr. Fantastic. Yeah, that's the role for him.
Yeah.
You know? But I
But
mean,
I don't know. I think it's definitely exciting. Because the Fantastic Four is like the big like who's it gonna be? Because we obviously
right.
know the movie's gonna happen. It's coming well, not pretty soon, but relatively soon.
Roughly, yeah.
And it's like the big who's gonna play the four of them.
Yeah.
And Adam Driver, he's been not in he's been in the talks for Reed for a while, but not like in the forefront of the talks, I don't think.
Right.
So it's definitely very interesting to see the rumors about him potentially already having or being offered the role of Reed Richards and stuff.
Yeah, he was the rumor amongst all the actors that were rumored that literally was like for a moment, like people were like somebody said Adam Driver might be Reed Richards and everybody went, "What? That's a weird one." And then it was never talked about again.
Yeah.
And then it's being brought up again
Yeah.
as like the maybe confirmed one,
Yeah. So
Great. He's amazing. He's a great actor. I'm sure he'll be fantastic. I'm sure he'll be fantastic. But it's not who I would have thought, but definitely not an awful pick whatsoever.
yeah.
Um, Kang Dynasty. Well, okay. So assuming these charges against Jonathan Majors are all cleared up by then,
Yeah.
Kang Dynasty is supposed to film next year.
Wow.
So soon, I know.
That is pretty crazy.
But you got to think, it's they filmed Infinity War and Endgame in 2017.
Yeah.
Not even 10 years after the first Iron Man movie, like not like 9 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, it makes sense that they're starting so early on filming. Pretty. I mean, the set photos are going to be nice.
Yeah.
The set rumors and photos will be really nice. And Spider-Man and Venom are coming to Disney Plus. Actually, they're already there. By the time of this recording, Spider-Man and I think Venom are both already there. So all three Tobey movies are on there right now currently.
Yep.
And The Amazing Spider-Man is 2. But Homecoming comes out May 12th. And actually, I think Venom does too. So, yeah. So, interesting. So, they'll eventually, Disney Plus will have every Marvel movie except The Incredible Hulk, which is like, oh, well, you almost got them all,
Yeah.
But did you have any Marvel news?
No, besides the Adam Driver thing and Spider-Man. Oh, that's it, yeah.
Pretty, not the biggest week for news, but hey,
Yeah.
there was some good stuff.
There was some good stuff in there for sure. Some interesting things to follow.
Yeah. Well, now we can hop into our current events. We watched Mandalorian Season 3.
Yep.
So let's talk about the last episode and then we can talk about overall how we feel about the season. So the last episode, personally, not as good as as episode 7,
Okay.
but definitely, top 3 of the season.
Yeah. Okay. I think I don't know, maybe I'm thinking I probably liked it a little bit more than 7.
Okay.
And I thought it ended, especially with like relative to how like the season was going. I thought the last episode ended things pretty well.
Yeah.
Thought it like wrapped up some things decently, and not and wrapped up in as in like a, you know, wait to see what happens next kind of thing, not as in like, oh, these characters are like done kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But it definitely had some good moments for sure. The I don't know, I felt like the build up to like the Mandalorians and stuff all working together again and stuff like that, fighting like one kind of common enemy or whatever. The build up to that and the payoff for that at the end of the season, in the episode, was really good. Bo-Katan's character has kind of shaped up to be pretty nicely written, I thought,
Yeah.
in this season.
The exact opposite of what you thought should
Yeah,
be.
what I thought they were going to do. I'm pretty happy with where they took her. In terms of her being kind of like a leader for the Mandalorians and also like a friend for Mando and stuff like
Yeah.
that. That was really a really good point to take her. I'm glad that they didn't have the armor like have like a twist or something,
Yeah.
because it would have felt like way too much with like with how this was the final episode of the season and everything.
Right.
It would have felt like way too much if they were like, oh yeah, yeah, she was evil the whole time. We just waited.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise. Yeah, I'm glad that even if they do that in the future, I'm still glad that they kind of let this season simmer. You know, let the season sit a little bit.
Yeah.
With the audiences and see how they feel about it, instead of just like throwing every twist at the
Right.
screen and stuff.
Yeah. And it did take a while for the cloning part to come back.
Yeah.
That entire episode was like really out of place.
Yeah.
They did, especially after seeing how like little it ties into the final episode.
Yeah.
It, like barely. They did hardly anything with it. It was, oh, he's got clones, and then they died. You know. Then it was just, yeah. I don't know. It really did feel like a, oh, remember when we said somehow Palpatine returned? Here's a reason. Here's how he returned. We fixed it, but it didn't service the show itself that it was a part of. But it
and
was.
then people think Moff Gideon's like actually dead, bro. Bro is
Oh.
not dead.
Yeah.
Bro was in full Beskar armor and like got swallowed or whatever by like the explosion,
Yeah.
or I guess, or whatever. Bro, that dude is not dead, bro.
He's
That,
not.
that was the most I'm not dead death I've ever seen, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bro literally had the most off-screen death. Bro had that original Boba Fett death.
That's so true. Oh my gosh.
Bro's definitely coming back in the movie or next season. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've actually already heard that Jon Favreau's apparently already working on next season. So apparently there's
Really?
another season of The Mandalorian. I was kind of under the impression that the movie was going to be next or whatever.
Yeah, I thought it was going to culminate in the movie, which it should because
they still are doing the movie, but
Yeah.
it's just that they're going to do another season of the show apparently,
Right.
which I didn't think was going to happen.
yeah, they didn't. Especially after watching this season, I don't. I think they're kind of out. It kind of feels like they don't know.
Well, apparently the next season's going to follow literally what season 3 left off on, with the whole like Mando helping out the New Republic kind of thing and
Yeah.
hunting down like the Imperial remnants and stuff. So what they're leading up to is they're leading up to Thrawn and Ahsoka, which Thrawn is like the leader of the Shadow Council or
Right.
whatever they call
Heir
themselves.
to the throne.
These little like guys trying to reassemble the Empire basically, and Moff Gideon is just supposed to be like one of them basically. So it's kind of trying to put in perspective the scope of like the stakes and stuff. Like, oh, it took our characters 3 seasons to even beat Moff Gideon, so how are they going to beat Moff Gideon's boss, you know?
But they didn't even beat Moff Gideon.
Exactly.
His ass is still alive.
Exactly.
Literally, when it happened, I was like in the moment when he exploded and it suffocated, it like swallowed him. I literally was like, he's still alive.
Yeah.
I was like, he's not dead.
Yeah, I don't.
Full Beskar armor, and they were like, he's dead, guys. The fire ate him. No, it didn't.
Yeah.
It did
It
not.
must have been the wind.
It must have been the wind. His ass is not dead.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, he'll be in the next Mandalorian season or movie or whatever for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that as a whole, I think the season, I think it was a fun season. It does feel a little out of place compared to the other two because the other two definitely have a lot of purpose, it feels like, which even season 2 comparatively to season 1 doesn't feel like it has as much purpose, but season 3 compared to both of them two feels like it has like none. Feels like
it really does, yeah.
Like there wasn't a whole lot of direction behind it. But not in like a horrible way. Like the show was still good. I still enjoyed season 3. It definitely wasn't like as bad as some of the people are making out to be. Like it's not Book of Boba Fett bad. I watched Book of Boba Fett, bro. That was not. Yeah.
No.
Mandalorian season 3, good. Or no, not good. I would say okay. Some really good moments that I really love. A lot of really moments that I don't like. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag. Yeah.
That's very fair.
It's the biggest mixed bag of all the Mandalorian seasons, obviously.
It's the plot didn't even come into fruition until the second to last episode.
Yeah.
They were like, we got plot, guys.
Yeah, and it felt like thrown together and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I did, again, I enjoyed aspects of it. I think my favorite part was the growth of Grogu. I think his character growth was really nice in this season. He actually felt like a character.
Yeah.
And not a thing that just kind of was there.
Like to sell toys and stuff, yeah.
Right, exactly. Because I wondered what they were going to do after season 2, and then obviously in Book of Boba Fett, they show his training and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if they were going to go back to him just being kind of a thing that just kind of hangs around, like literally a toy. You know? But no, they did a good job, I think, making him a character. And he hasn't even said anything yet.
Yeah.
So I thought, no, I'm not even going to lie, in the scene where he's like, I want to make him my apprentice. She's like, if he can't speak, he can't be your apprentice. And I swear to God, I thought he was going to speak. I thought he was going to be like, I'm talking. I thought he was literally going to be like, I can talk now.
Dude, I feel like Disney is, I don't know, I have a feeling that Disney's very scared to change Baby Yoda in any way.
Definitely.
Because if they introduce, they don't want to introduce a voice and make it the exact same as Yoda's, because that's kind of just like okay.
Right.
And it's actually already been confirmed that Yoda doesn't speak for like his entire race. It's literally just him who speaks like that.
He's a crazy
because
old man.
Yaddle, the other Yoda race, doesn't speak all kooky crazy.
Yeah.
So it's confirmed that like Grogu could just speak like kind of normal, you know?
Yeah.
But I still feel like they're kind of scared to give him like a voice, because that would be like, you know, putting something onto the toy.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So I feel like they're kind of in the same way that they would be scared to like age him up and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Because
we will never see a full aged Grogu.
Hey, I mean, you never know. I don't know the time that when the supposed new Rey focused movie comes out, he should be around like 700 years old, 600 years old, something like that.
Wow.
So
that much time passed?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. From the like end of like, because Mando's only a couple years after Return of the Jedi happens. Yeah. It's like 3 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit more than 3, maybe like 6, something like that. But it's a handful of years after Return of the Jedi, and then I'm pretty sure sequels are like pretty long step. But I don't think he would be as old as like Yoda ever was, because the first time we see Yoda's like 860 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so we would most definitely probably never see Grogu as old as Yoda, but I would definitely say that we might end up seeing like an adolescent kind of Grogu or something.
That's fair.
But that obviously is going to require some kind of balls from Disney to be willing to change Grogu.
Yeah.
Which I don't know.
Who
Seems
knows?
unlikely.
Who knows? Yeah. Well, I think this season was undoubtedly the weakest of the three.
Yeah.
It had some good moments. I mean, Moff Gideon's in armor, his suit, his entire fit in this season, was extremely hard. He looked like the Mandalorian, like kind of like Darth Maul, spikes on his head.
Yeah.
He looked sick. It was a dope outfit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like how he's just like super racist against Mandalorians.
Yeah.
He's like, I want your planet. There's so many planets in the galaxy, and he's like, no, I want yours.
Yeah, he said, I want to wipe out your race and take your land.
And it's
Call me
like...
the white man, because...
But no, it's actually funny, though, that he's literally, like, so focused on the Mandalorian planet. Like, they're probably not even the most, like, environment-rich planet. Like, they've had, like, countless civil wars and stuff. I'm pretty sure the land is, on some level, kind of messed up and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's probably better prospects of planets out there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more so just, like, a kinky ass for them or something.
Yeah, he's like a fetish.
Yeah.
He's like a Mandalorian fetish.
Yeah, he's the thing for him, I think.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna kill you, Mando. I will.
He raises Grogu with Mando. They become like surrogate dads. That'd be so funny.
That would be hilarious.
The only ending.
The only acceptable ending. Yeah, I give it like a 5 or a 6.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
probably.
it's like not exactly the middle, because there were really good. I don't know. Actually, it might be, because there was some pretty good stuff, and then there was some pretty like not good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you didn't see this, but I did. I went and saw Evil Dead Rise. I don't really have that much to say about it. It was a fun time. A lot of gore. It stays true to the Evil Dead series of being real goofy and kind of like really over the top. The acting, the acting from the main actress who plays the antagonist, the woman, she's great. She's really good. But the rest of the cast, they need to go back to acting school, because they're not the best. And I understand it's, I don't want to crap on somebody's ability to act if they like acting, but it's I don't know. It also has to do with the dialogue is very corny and very, very cheesy. Not in like a fun way either. It's like extremely like bare bones and generic. But it's a fun time. Like, I had fun watching it in the theater. You definitely need to see it in the theater, because it's loud, and having the people around you, just having a packed theater around you, really makes it worth it. Yeah, but it was pretty good. I mean, a lot of the people that I've seen are be like, it's like a 9 out of 10. It's like a 6 or 7. It's purely like a good time. Like, that's really all it is to me. It does, however, have one of the best title sequences I've ever seen. Like, when it says Evil Dead Rise, incredible. I don't even want to say what it is, just because it's so good. But it's Yeah, I mean it was a fun time. It was a good movie. I definitely recommend it if you like the Evil Dead series or horror movies in general. You don't need to watch the Evil Dead movies to understand it. There's references. The chainsaw, Ash's chainsaw is in it. But yeah, it was fun. But that's literally like all I have to say about it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So we actually just got back from seeing this next one.
Yeah.
Beau Is Afraid. What a trip. What a trip this movie was. It's the third film from Ari Aster, who made Hereditary and Midsommar. Um, it's a horror. It's described as a horror comedy, but the comedy is shouldn't be a part of the. I mean, it's funny. There are funny moments, but it's not a comedy. I would say. Uh, the horror is more so uncomfortable. It's really just kind of an uncomfortable movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's anxiety filled though. It does a great job. I think that's the strongest part to start off with is the the movies and Ari Aster's ability to showcase almost every anxiety you could ever have is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's stylistically the movie is really good. Um, there's a lot of uh, like animated set designs. There's an entire like a literally like a play scene.
Yeah.
The scene, yeah, and I don't know. It was, but the movie as a whole wasn't all that I expected.
Yeah. I don't know. I definitely, in terms of actually what the movie was, I had like no expectations really because I
Yeah.
didn't really know what to think going into the movie. I knew that it was like there was some stuff about like it being kind of about anxieties and stuff like that and like fears and stuff like that, but
Hmm.
I hadn't really heard a lot about the making of the movie or anything behind the movie really.
Yeah.
So I came into the movie essentially blind basically for as to what was going to happen in the movie itself or what it was going to be about. Um the quality of the movie in terms of expectations was I don't know, it felt like it does feel like an Ari Aster film, like it kind of fits into the rest of his filmography in
Hmm.
terms of like stylistically how it is and the themes and stuff in the movie, but the movie itself doesn't fit with Hereditary and Midsummer. Like watching
Yeah.
them all three together, Beau Is Afraid would definitely be the distinct one to stick out. It'd be the sore thumb for sure.
Right. Yeah. It's it's definitely not as well written as the other two.
Yeah,
It relies a lot on the uncomfortability of it.
yeah,
There's a lot of yeah, there is just a lot of like unsettling things, but not a whole lot of reason behind it.
yeah,
Specifically the end with like a certain being that's there
yeah,
without spoilers.
yeah,
It there is a thing in the end that's like, well, the movie didn't really need this.
yeah,
It definitely adds like a level of uncomfortability for sure,
yeah. And
and
to the
weird.
like absurdism and stuff in the
Yeah,
movie. Yeah,
but it's not. It doesn't necessarily like add a whole lot. In fact, I
yeah.
think they like drop it like right after. Like they don't really talk
Well,
about
yeah.
it.
I mean, yeah. It's like literally not brought up basically at all.
Yeah, it like we see the
The
thing.
mom like says, "Yeah, that's who it is,"
Yeah,
and
that's who it. Yeah, that's the thing.
that's it.
Yeah, and then it was yeah, never brought up again. It's yeah, I mean the acting was really good. Joaquin Phoenix and I'm not sure who plays his mom, but
um,
um
I think her last name's Lapone. Something like
Polly Lapone.
yeah, Polly. Yeah, I think that's it. Polly Lapone. I think.
Okay. Yeah, so those two carry the film for sure. And I
Yeah,
mean Joaquin Phoenix is in the entire thing. She's in a little bit of it,
yeah,
but they both are incredible. The acting for the most part from the other side characters like Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan, it's all right. It's not bad. You know,
Yeah.
it's nowhere near bad, but it's not anything special. Um, but the movie is, the entire movie is like what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
It's the entire movie, and unfortunately, I think it kind of feels like the entire movie. That's like the only feeling it gives is like what is going on. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing else that kind of supports it. Like oh, an
Okay.
emotional moment that like weirdly it was weirdly emotional and made me feel something, but I'm also creeped out. It kind
Yeah.
of did just feel like the movie was just kind of trying to creep you out and make you feel uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see that for sure. I think that I don't know. I think the film had I think a lot going for it in the first like hour of the movie. I think a lot of the things it was trying to hit on, it was hitting really strongly, especially the anxiety based kind of thriller behind a lot of the first hour and a half of the movie. A lot of the scenes have a really great thriller aspect to them,
Yeah.
and the horror is probably maybe at its best, or at least at its most unique in the first hour of the film. I feel a lot of the most well done stylistic choices are also in the first hour of the film, with how like you said, with how like you don't understand like what's going on and stuff a lot at a lot of points in the film. The first like that beginning part of the film, like the first act, I feel like really strongly hammers home the idea that you really don't know what's going on,
Yeah.
and the anxieties and stuff that are kind of induced from around the first act in general. There's a lot of good setup as well. The first act does a large portion of setting up. It does
Yeah.
a lot of, let's say it does a lot of the dirty work of the plot itself and stuff like that. The It's really the first hour and a half is really what this movie has to stand on, like strongly.
Yeah.
I find the rest of the parts of the film, like everything after, basically when he gets to like the people's house or whatever,
Yeah.
and then that part on, it's kind of it's kind of wobbly
Yeah.
with how things were handled and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it really was back and forth for me. It was like some scenes I really liked, and then some scenes that were kind of just like, why were they there? You know?
Right. It definitely was. Like there was no portion. Like I'd say there was four parts to the movie. You know, the beginning when he's at home, and then when he's at the people's house, and then when he's in the woods, and
Yeah.
then when at his his mom's house.
Yeah, the conclusion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the conclusion. And those four distinct parts, I'd say none of them. Well, no, all of them have something good about them. There's
Yeah.
something in like really really good about each part. But I do agree that I was definitely more intrigued in the movie in the first hour and a half. Even when he first gets to the people's house, I was like, okay, it's still interesting.
Yeah.
But about halfway through that part of the movie, I was like, it's kind of slipping.
Losing some steam. Yeah.
Um, stylistically, the third part, the woods in the play, uh, best stylistic part of the movie.
Yeah. The little like trip kind of sequence that he goes on during the play and the forest and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Visually is like amazing, like
Yeah, it's
very
really
very well done. The entire movie, even like the non like spectacle parts,
Yeah.
the movie is still visually very very nice looking. I mean, all of Ari Aster's films are visually pretty nice. You
Yeah.
know, Hereditary's visually really good.
I think
Midsummer
Midsummer is
as
probably
well,
the best visually.
and the camera work in both movies are
Yes.
astounding. That continues in this movie as well. The camera work is very sound, very well done, very well put together.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scenes where I think the camera work actually is like the reason some of the anxieties and stuff like that work so well.
Yeah.
The technical side of the movie is perfect in my opinion. Like maybe not perfect, but damn near
Yeah,
because
pretty close. Yeah.
because the sound was great almost throughout the entire thing. Not like I mean the song, there were like good songs I guess in there, but not like what really stood out was like the sound design in
Yeah.
particular and
Right.
stuff like that. And then the obviously the cinematography and stuff was very striking.
Yes.
Definitely had a lot of stuff to play with here, more so than the other two. In terms of like the kind of dream-like sequences and stuff like that. There's a lot of metaphors in the movie and like
Yes.
foreshadowing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of metaphors and foreshadowing. Especially with his dad. Like his dad is literally one giant his dad's like one giant metaphor, and it's funny.
Yeah.
You know, it's cool. You know.
Yeah.
Ari Aster definitely likes metaphors. He's used it in Hereditary. He's used them in, although a little bit less in Midsummer. They're still in Midsummer, and then this film probably has the most. But yeah, definitely a metaphor filled film for sure.
He really wants to drive home that the theme in this movie is guilt. I mean, it's like the only note that his therapist takes is it literally just
guilty.
He's like, guilty, and then they say guilt 1,000 times more in the movie.
Guilt, mommy issues.
Yes,
That's
guilt.
it.
Yeah, guilt and mommy issues.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely not a bad movie.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. I don't know.
It's a hard movie to like sit down and watch.
Yeah,
it
is.
Like I'm not popping in Beau Is Afraid, just randomly at the function or something.
When the function got Beau Is Afraid. Yeah, it was a enjoyable time, but it's a very slow movie.
Yeah.
It's very
definitely slow.
3 hours long. Almost exactly 3 hours long.
Yeah, and you feel the runtime for sure.
Yeah. Not always a good thing, but just because it's slow doesn't mean that it's bad.
Yeah.
There were moments because I knew actually going in beforehand the ending is abrupt.
Yeah,
It's
very abrupt.
Think of Everything Everywhere All at Once. The moment when the credits roll and it's a fake out and it's not really the end of the movie and it turns out they're watching a movie, and the credits were rolling. It's that, except there isn't anything afterwards. It's like it really is like it's actually over.
Yeah, it's actually over.
That's the best way I could probably describe that. But I knew going into it that the ending was like that. It's an abrupt ending, and but I wouldn't say that it really like makes you draw your own conclusion, because it kind of see kind of what happens.
No, honestly, for me, I don't know. I think the ending, although abrupt, was pretty well done. I thought it's definitely abrupt. It's probably the definition of an abrupt ending.
Right. It's like, what's
like
next?
Like literally textbook, but
yeah,
it's still, I don't know. It kind of did what it needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
It oddly is the most like straightforward part of the movie. Is the ending, where it's just like,
because it's quite literally
that's what happens.
It's quite literally Richard Kind being like, you did all this and you're doing all this to your mom, and then the ending happened. It is very straightforward.
For sure. I don't know. I think that the ending is definitely not an issue with the film, for sure.
I agree.
Because you get what you need with the ending. The ending gives you the conclusion you need with Beau's character, and it gives Beau the conclusion he was needing with the stuff that the answers and stuff that he was wanting, and his situation and everything. It was definitely abrupt, but I don't know, I kind of like the whole like abruptness and strangeness of the ending, because the ending is definitely like the most like, or maybe not the most, because that's definitely a statement to make regarding this movie, but definitely one of the crazier twists is like the twist centered around the ending and stuff like that.
Right.
And yeah, you're definitely not expecting the credits to roll when they do.
When
I
they
don't
do,
think. Yeah.
Which is funny because I was waiting. It's actually when he got to his mom's house, I expected it to end somewhere in there pretty abruptly. And I was like, okay, so this is going to end pretty soon. There was like another like 40 minutes on top of there. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't as abrupt as I thought because it wasn't where I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, I don't know that I would say like, yeah, go watch it. You know, because I don't know that I can recommend it.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't recommend this movie probably to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because most people who watch this movie are gonna probably say like have a lot of similar criticisms that it's too self-indulgent, it's too long, things like that.
Right.
That Ari Aster's just making movies for himself and stuff like that. So I definitely wouldn't recommend it, but I think that there's definitely an audience out there for this movie, and I'm not a part of the.
I agree. Yeah. No, definitely. Like I wouldn't say I'm not a part of it. Like I definitely found things to enjoy in this movie, and I didn't walk out being like, he's just making shit for himself. You know, I'm not gonna criticize a director for making something he wanted to make, especially something that was so unique and different. You know, but it definitely wasn't in the ballpark of something I would love.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't love it, but I definitely don't hate it at all.
Yep.
You know, I would, if I rewatched it, I might like it more, but I don't know for sure because I don't know that I'm gonna rewatch it.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. I think it could be a movie that is like, oh, look at, you notice a bunch of more details on a rewatch that you could appreciate more, not on the first watch. I think it is one of those movies where it could be enhanced on a rewatch, but it's a movie that's also very hard to press play on.
Yeah, it's like,
like it's one of those streaming services movies that it's on your list, but are you ever actually going to press play on the movie?
Yeah.
Or is it just going to sit in your list forever?
Yeah.
It might sit in your list forever.
Honestly, yeah, it might sit in your list forever, but it's...
I doubt this one comes to streaming, though, because I don't think... Has any of Ari Aster's films been to streaming?
Yeah, Hereditary is on HBO Max, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
But Midsummer I know is not because I bootlegged it. So I pirated it. Admits to felony. Admits to crime.
Ahoy, matey.
Call me Captain Jack Sparrow because I'm a pirate. Nah, but I think my final thought on it is if you enjoyed Hereditary and Midsummer, if you love both Hereditary and Midsummer to any amount, you'll probably enjoy what the movie tries to do.
Yeah.
But I can't promise you'll like it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I definitely think a small, very small minority will think that this movie's like a masterpiece, 10 out of 10 for sure. I definitely see like 10 people in the world being like, bro, Beau Is Afraid it's a peak cinema.
I definitely see the movie having more haters than fans.
Oh my gosh, that's
it's already started,
bro. That's like confirmed. I feel like for this movie.
Yeah, it's already started.
Bro, you knew that was gonna happen when A24 rolled in with their credits at the in the first 2 seconds.
You know the moment A24, people were like, "Nope, worst movie ever."
No, it thinks too highly of itself.
What does that even mean? It
I don't
thinks
know,
too highly
man.
of itself. Oh my god. No, I have yet to give this a rating.
Yeah.
But where I'm at right now is like probably a 7.
Yeah,
or a 6.5. 7.
I think that's where I'm probably at. It's like a 7.
Yeah, 7, maybe 7.5.
I could see a 7.5.
Probably a 7.
I feel good about 7 though.
I do
7
too.
feels like the right score right now.
Because 6.5 feels like too low.
In terms of Letterboxd, I'd probably give it like a 3.
Yeah,
Probably
like a
give it
3
stars.
Yeah,
maybe 3.5.
Yeah. It's a fair. It's definitely. I don't recommend it. Go see it. That's
Yeah.
kind of how it is. It's
Yeah.
like I don't recommend this movie. Go see it.
But Joaquin Phoenix absolutely should. The movie's definitely not for everyone, but Joaquin Phoenix's performance should definitely be able to be taken separate from the movie as like a really, really good
Yeah,
performance.
not nomination right there for sure. I think.
Dude, the fact that this man lost all this weight for Joker, gained the weight back for Beau Is Afraid, lost it again for Joker 2
Yeah.
is crazy, bro.
Yeah.
I stared at his little gut for a minute in the movie. I was like, there is no way that he's filming Joker 2 a couple months after this body.
Right.
And there's no shot, bro. You have to be like starving yourself for sure, bro.
Dude, method actors have to be the most unhealthy people on the planet.
It's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, Beau Is Afraid. It was all right.
Yeah.
It was all right.
Go check it out
Go
if you want.
go see it if you think that you can handle what it has to offer, which the average viewer probably doesn't.
Yeah.
Like first hour of the movie, they're probably gonna get up and walk out. And that's not to say like we're better than you. It's to say that the movie truly is like not for. It's really
It's
not for
definitely-
anyone. But
It's definitely not for
It's honestly not
He
for
said-
anyone.
not for everyone. Nah, this ain't for anyone.
But I mean, truly, it's like only for Ari Aster.
Yeah, he made it for himself.
But it doesn't matter because it's still like there will be
I think,
fans.
No, yeah, I think you can still appreciate it, even if you might not love it. You know.
Oh,
Which
definitely.
I feel like that's how both of us feel. We can appreciate some of the stylistic choices around it and stuff without loving the entire thing.
Yeah. Here's a good way to put it. I drove an hour to go see this movie, and I would not drive an hour to see it again. I definitely think if it's in my local theater type of thing.
Yeah.
But that's what sucks, you know. You gotta take a risk, you know. Maybe and it definitely wasn't like I regret, you know.
Yeah, it was still a good experience,
Yeah.
for sure.
And it was thankfully a long enough movie to justify a 1 hour drive.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was all right.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I guess now we can move on to the other stuff that we watched this week. What did we watch this week? What did you watch, bud?
Well, I guess I can start with a little indie movie about a little shark.
Oh, yeah.
Dun-dun, dun-dun. No, but I watched the classic Jaws this past week, and I gotta say, the most overrated movie of all time.
Now, are you being for
I call
real?
like one of the most influential movies of
Yeah.
all time. Overrated. No, Jaws was great. It was definitely a really fun watch.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about fun, but it was definitely a good watch.
Super exciting and enjoyable.
It was definitely thrilling. You definitely feel the classicness of the of how it's like affected the horror genre and how it is a staple of the horror genre.
Yeah.
There are just those classic movies that have that feel to it. Jaws feels like a horror movie that has a lot of impact on horror movies.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
And yeah, it's very cinematically sound. I was actually surprised at how like well shot and well put together the movie is. Obviously Steven Spielberg is most likely the guy behind the camera for a lot of the shots.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was at least seeing all the shots that were, going through and stuff like that. And they look good, and there's very smooth, very nuanced camera work for a relatively kind of not. It wasn't generic at the time, obviously, but for a more so now, it would be considered a more so generic setting with like a shark eating people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at the time, definitely have to give credit for it for all the big strides it made. Literally making people afraid of going in the water and stuff like that in real life. because people didn't know shark attacks existed before this movie, apparently, which they
Wild.
treat it like they treat it like that in the movie as well. Everyone in the movie is like, "What, a shark attack? How could that happen? Sharks are peaceful creatures."
Right, yeah.
Like, and that's not saying like, "Oh, sharks are demons, so we must go hunt them all" or
Kill all
something.
sharks.
No,
Yeah.
obviously not. But it's definitely like kind of crazy, just like the ignorance behind
Yeah.
sharks, and not only sharks, because sharks aren't like the main like thing about the movie. It's a lot about a fear of the unknown, fear of anything that could
Right.
be in the water, not just like sharks.
Because
But
anything could be
yeah,
in the water.
which is why for like literally the first like 45 minutes of the movie, you don't even technically know that it's a shark, besides obviously you knowing that you're watching Jaws, you know that there's a
Yeah.
shark. But besides that, you actually don't know that like a shark is the thing that's eating people, because all it is the every time there's an attack in the first like 45 to an hour
Mm-hmm.
of the movie, the camera ends up getting placed as you like, if you are if the audience or the camera or whatever is the shark itself, so you kind of are in place of the attacker basically. And
Oh.
it's a good and very well thought out way of how to keep the fear of the unknown alive. So keep the idea of not knowing what's lurking beneath, keeping that idea alive while also having some pretty like thrilling sequences. And obviously there's the famous John Williams score that is
Right.
iconic. Literally, the definition of an iconic movie score is this Jaws movie score.
Because it's used to for anything scary.
Yeah, it's literally it's the score itself is literally horror. Like, it's literally
Yeah.
anticipation itself.
Right.
And John Williams brilliantly designed that as well. Steven Spielberg brilliantly designed the movie. The shark looks great when it eventually does come on screen and stuff. It's a very well made prosthetic. The shark looks extremely real.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, it's a very well made movie. I mean, it's a very well structured horror movie. Very good, very well structured, thrilling scenes where anticipation just builds and builds and builds and builds to a breaking point. Very good. The dolly zoom is amazing, and the obviously the dolly zoom I'm referring to is like the main use of the dolly zoom in the movie, which is on Rob Schneider's character, who's like kind of like the main character basically. And they use it as most dolly zooms are used, which is like in being alert of danger or whatever. And it's a cinematic moment for sure.
Yeah.
And Jaws, one of the most influential movies. I ended up giving it a 8 out of 10, I think. I almost gave it 8.5. I was very close to giving it an 8.5, and then I gave it a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was a very good watch. If you haven't seen Jaws, I would suggest to go watch it. It's a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Nice. Well, my first movie was speaking of Ari Aster is Midsummer. Um, pretty good film. It's I think it's not as good as Hereditary, but it still had a lot going for it that it succeeded on. Uh, First of all, the first thing that comes to mind is the cinematography is incredible. The shots, some of my favorite shots in the movie, and the best shots in the movie probably are shots of the yellow triangle chapel thing,
Yeah.
and it's just it's like so colorful. It's the blue sky blended in with this yellow triangle. It's the focal point of the shot,
Yeah.
and the green grass with the blue waves in it. It looks like a painting. It's so nice. I think the story was a little weak at times, because it is like just like a men bad kind of movie. It
Yeah.
is pretty much it's basically the best way I could describe it is it's Get Out for white women is basically what it is. Um, it's a good movie though, and it's got a lot of unsettling imagery and scenes. The acting is really good. Florence Pugh is incredible in this movie. I don't think I've seen a character cry more. Uh,
Yeah.
she does a lot of crying in this movie, but the her character's reasoning for being how she is incredibly dark, and very sad opening to the movie. Uh, it's shot very well, and it's long, and you feel that runtime a little bit, but it is definitely still really good. And the horror element is really nice. The unsettling bits um, are really nice. It's got one of the most uncomfortable sex scenes of all time. Uh, it'll make you look at bears a little differently. That's for sure. It's I really yeah again I really don't have a whole lot to say on this because it's simply if you liked Hereditary, I think this not Beau Is Afraid, but this is the closest thing to Hereditary that Ari Aster's made. It's they both feel very similar in terms of style and just kind of the horror aspect and the
Yeah.
uncomfortability of it. Uh, it's it yeah, Sweden is looked upon a little differently after this. That's for sure. Uh, no, but I gave it like an 8.5 out of 10. It was definitely an enjoyable movie. Um, great cinematography, great acting. Yeah, but it's definitely the least memorable. I think it's I'd say it's like the least like oh I remember like the ending is like the most memorable part about the movie to me,
Hmm.
and but I think overall it's got a lot of not as memorable bits, but it's still really I would definitely watch again. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty good.
Nice. So for my next movie, I watched The Curious Case of Benjamin Buttons, which is it's a David Fincher film, which released I believe in 2007. I want to say.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
2008. 2008
Oh,
it was
okay.
released. David Fincher 2008. The lead is Brad Pitt. He plays a man named Benjamin who was born with a very curious case.
A curious case.
He was born as a well, um, as a wrinkled baby, basically.
He's an
Who
old man, yeah, right?
what?
Is he an old man? He's an old man,
He
right?
he's born as an old man, kind of, but he's still like a baby.
Okay.
So he's a baby, but like he's born with like wrinkles and like arthritis and
Oh,
dementia, stuff like that.
man.
Yeah, he's born like as a baby, but he has like the inside and outside body of an old man, basically.
Right.
Um, it's a very weird concept. I'm not even gonna try and sugarcoat it. It is very weird, and majority of the movie you see a CGI Brad Pitt old man baby for a good portion of the film, and it's unsettling. It's weird,
Yeah, the clips that I've seen from it are weird. It looks
and it's weird that no one else in the movie thinks it's weird.
really.
It's weird that everyone in the movie is just like, yeah, yeah, you're a guy.
You're an old man.
Yeah,
Old man
it's just
baby.
happened. Yeah, and I will say this that Brad Pitt gives it actually a pretty good performance. So does Kate Blanchett. As far as I know, Kate Blanchett has never given a bad performance,
Yeah,
so
she's
she's
always good.
very good in this as well. I, I don't. So the thing about this is that it is a David Fincher film. It does not feel like a David Fincher film. It feels like someone held a gun to David Fincher's head and made him make this movie.
Oh, wow.
It feels like this movie shouldn't have been made, to be honest.
What?
It really does.
I can't tell if you liked it or not.
It's just so weird. It's man baby Brad Pitt walking all over the place. And there is some like the story takes itself very serious. It's about like death and about coming to terms with like death and how a whole bunch of different people like come to terms with like getting old and the end of their life and stuff like that.
Right.
It's a big focus around kind of like the coming of age and like the coming to the end of your life and getting old or things like that.
Right.
Um, and it handles them with grace. It handles them pretty well, pretty nicely touched. The problem being is that the the concept is just, I don't know, it's not applied in a very meaningful way. Like you do feel sympathy for Mr. Benjamin Button, obviously, but it's like they don't, Fincher or whoever doesn't strive to make that emotional connection between protagonist and audience in a very like concrete way, in any way besides just, oh, he was born like an old man and he's aging backwards. And also another thing about this film is the symbolism is made for like a 2-year old. The beginning of the movie, there's a clock that goes backwards, like the guy made the clock, the creator of the clock made it wrong, and this clock is known for telling time backwards, like it's like the
Yeah.
second hand is spinning backwards, which is basically meant to be the most like rudimental kindergarten symbolism of Benjamin Button aging backwards.
Literally what it, yeah.
It's, I don't know, it feels like David Fincher wanted like to hold my hand while I crossed the street or something. I don't
That's honestly not a bad description.
it really felt, and that's just an example. There's plenty of symbolism in the film that just like it's like, okay, you took like a basic screenwriting 101 class and they told you to fill your movie with a boatload of symbolism. That's cool. It's not really used well here.
Yeah.
Like I said, the story's okay. There's some family stuff in here. There is some emotional beats. Brad Pitt's good. Kate Blanchett's good. Taraji P. Henson's good. But there's not that much of an emotional connection where the film definitely strives for there to be. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd, I believe, but I'm thinking about bouncing it down to 2.5 out of 5, and then I gave it a 5.5, I believe, out of 10. So
Okay.
it's almost in the middle.
Yeah.
It's slightly above the middle of the road.
Interesting. Sure is a curious case. That's what that is. My next movie was a little indie film called Kung Fu Panda. I don't know if you've heard of it. Now, this is nothing new. I've seen Kung Fu Panda a trillion times, but I was rewatching it with the eye of a movie watcher, of a cinema man. You
Yeah.
know, um, it's still really good.
Yeah.
It still holds up very well. Um, one of the best animated movies, honestly, of the past 20 years. Yeah, the movie's almost 20 years old. I don't like that at all, but it's almost 20 years old. Uh, it's beautifully animated. I never noticed how great the animation was in this movie. The fight scenes are definitely noticed the fight scenes, but the just like the animation in the chair or the cherry blossom peach tree scene and Uguay's death and stuff, just beautiful animation and some genuine emotion. Like none of it gets a tear out of me, but it definitely makes me like ponders a thought. You know, it definitely is like provoking. I think it's definitely what DreamWorks has mastered, unlike Pixar. I will say Pixar is really good at deep, meaningful themes. Kind of like at the end of the movie, they're like, "Here's something real sad." There's like
Yeah.
something really adult and mature right at the very end. But I think uh, what DreamWorks does pretty well is kind of implementing these really heavy themes of life and like and death and just be accepting who you are throughout a movie filled with like corny jokes and kid friendly fun, you know? And I think they've kind of mastered that. Uh, I think I think this movie kind of is like is probably top three DreamWorks animated films specifically. Uh, I think the only one that I honestly believe it is rivaled by is the new Puss in Boots film. Like honestly, I think Puss in Boots has a similar uh, deep meaning. Like it's the meaning and the theme is probably as deep as Kung Fu Panda. But Jack Black is, I mean, when you hear Jack Black, you hear Poe. It's kind of a it's kind of a it Poe is Jack Black's Iron Man is basically what I'm trying to say because he nobody else could have played that role and made it as iconic as it is, as amazing as it is. I'm sure they honestly wrote the character for Jack Black. I don't know if they did or not, but it feels like they probably would have. But if they didn't, that's some incredible casting. Uh, it's also it's also where kind of Jack Black was shown to be like a really good, like he's always been a good actor, but he is actually playing like a character that doesn't feel exactly like Jack Black. He's I don't know, he's actually like a sad kind of character. He has some um real self-esteem issues and it's he's a very relatable character for sure.
Yeah.
And it's a great underdog story and I'm sure you've seen Kung Fu Panda if you're listening to this. I 100% can guarantee you've probably seen Kung Fu Panda, but on the off chance that you haven't, watch it. It's just a great family film. I think my only complaint about it is that it moves incredibly fast. I didn't realize how fast this movie moves. It it is. I mean, it's only an hour and 30 minutes long, but it moves just like really quick. Like hardly any scenes have any time to breathe sometimes, but it's a very minor gripe. But it's still a very fun film and even better than I remember it being. So
Nice. Very nice.
yeah.
My next movie is a an actual little small budget 90s movie called Nick of Time. Came out in 1995 and it stars Johnny Depp and Sir Christopher Walken.
Okay.
Um, it's it's an action thriller film basically where Johnny Depp's character is like kind of like an average like everyday working man or whatever, and he's literally out of nowhere targeted by the police. Not police, but like more of like a federal agency. Think of like a FBI, CIA kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's targeted by the police, and they which Christopher Walken is by the way, he plays like the kind of antagonist like FBI officer or whatever. And they essentially like take Johnny Depp's daughter hostage, and they force him to kill an uprising politician, or they're trying to force him to kill an on the rise politician who's been doing work in the political field to bring both political parties together, and
Oh.
they decide to whack her out as a means to keep the political system corrupt, I imagine. Um, and it's basically a thriller film following that plot line where Christopher Walken goes, "Yeah, you have an hour to kill the politician or your daughter dies." And Johnny Depp's character for the next hour basically does everything he can to not kill the politician,
Oh wow.
and still keep his daughter alive and everything.
Right. Yeah.
Um, that's what the film's about. That's the film's premise. That's what happens in the movie. Yeah, it's a cool watch, you know. You can watch it and it will definitely keep you entertained for about an hour and a half. It's how long the movie is. It's 90 minutes exactly. Um, it'll keep you entertained. The ending, I'm sure will, excite you and stuff. There's not a whole lot to it, not a whole lot wrong with it, not a whole lot right with it. It's a it's an all right movie to just watch when you need something to watch.
Yeah.
Yep. I ended up giving it I think like a 6.5, something like that out of 10. And on Letterboxd, I gave it 2.5, three
Yeah.
stars, something like that.
It's a nice middle of the road movie.
Yep.
That's good. Um, I didn't say this when I was talking about Kung Fu Panda, but I would like to mention that it has one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. Just not even of animated movie, just one of the greatest
Yeah.
soundtracks ever. But my next movie was, speaking of soundtracks, La La Land. Amazing movie. Oh, so good. It's so good. The From the music to the acting to this, oh my god, the cinematography is gorgeous. Every color is in this movie and it's brighter than the sun. It's so good. Damien Chazelle loves his colors in this movie specifically. It's a great it's a great love story about it's a great love story about love for both a person and your dream and your job and the thing that you love to do, which is a great type of or take on a love story. I think it is the movie that combines um, Damien Chazelle's two passions of music and movie making. I think like it was like Whiplash is music, this was movies and music, and then Babylon is movies. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like it's it's really phenomenally made. Great soundtrack, great original songs. I've been humming them ever since I watched it. This was actually my second watch. I've already seen La La Land before, but this was my second watch, and I liked it even more, than I already did the first time. It's Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone have incredible chemistry. Probably the best chemistry in a romance film that I've seen. And I think that this movie, what?
They're very good together, man. I mean, they
Yeah.
are,
It's
right?
like what? Yeah. It's like what can you say?
Yeah.
Uh, the um, the story is what I think what I like about it the most is that it's not, a generic rom com or romance movie. It's it's so I mean it almost won Best Picture. That's like how you
Yeah.
should be able to tell. But it's so real. It's a very real feeling. It's not a hokey, "Oh, we fell in love and we got married and we have kids." It's very real.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
choice between what you love and who you love. The real
Yep.
bread and butter of the movie
It's
is
about
like
sacrifice and
it
stuff.
is.
Yeah.
It's entirely about sacrifices and what it takes to get to your dream. And I love that it's probably uh, it's definitely probably the best musical out there
Oh,
because
yeah.
it has like three musical numbers. Like there's literally like three or four musical numbers, and for the most part, it's mostly movie.
Yeah, dude, and that's so funny though because I hear so many people talking about La La Land, and so many people will like diss on the fact that it's a musical. They're like, "Man, that musical trash."
Musical trash.
Let me tell you what you watch the La La Land if you're calling it musical trash. You watched the first 5 minutes where they do the musical number right at the beginning, and you
Yeah.
said, "Oh, I think I know what this movie's gonna be for the entire
Yeah.
runtime," and turned it off.
I can take a guess. No, you can't because there are maybe in the first hour there's probably three songs, and after that there might be one or two,
Yeah.
and and I think there's only three with actual lyrics,
Yeah.
and then the rest of them are all
Bro, and some of the musical numbers are like, come on, man. You're not in awe of what you're seeing. Like,
Yeah,
like
you're not.
like the one where Emma Stone and Gosling are dancing on like the little
Yes.
California backdrop or whatever, and the other one where they're dancing and they have like the, they're like doing the slow
They
dance kind
float
of,
into
and,
the
yeah, and they start
sky.
floating. Yeah,
Great.
like you're worried about the music right now, bro. Brother, look at the screen. Look what's on screen
My
right
brother in
now.
Christ, look at these visuals. Like that's and the music with the
And the
visuals.
choreography. Look at
And
everything, bro.
look at all of it. It's so it's beautifully told and structured and looks beautiful. I mean dude, the use of blue and purple specifically, it's some of my favorite.
Bro, this movie uses every color like to perfection,
Yeah.
basically. Like, I don't, bro. It is literally like a rainbow, basically.
Yeah, it is.
Every single color it uses has like a lasting impact in some kind of way. Whether it's the the blue and purples of the California kind of sky, or it's Emma Stone's iconic yellow dress. Any of the things, it doesn't matter because it's just the vibe that Chazelle brings into the atmosphere of the film. He does it with all his films, but you really feel it in La La Land. That, like Whiplash, obviously the main color would be like yellow. Obviously, that's a
Yes.
very
It's
prominent
a very
color.
gold movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Babylon, it's pretty similar. That gold or yellow is kind of a fitting color, or maybe red even. But in La La Land, obviously it might be more tailored to a blue or purple kind of color.
Yeah.
But the whole movie has like every color in it. Like,
Yeah. If you like laid out a color spectrum of the movie, like boil it down to basic colors, it would just be a rainbow.
Yeah.
Like it would just be.
I love how just random people are just like, he just gave random people like random like extras and stuff, like, hey, here's a solid color shirt of a color we haven't had yet. Make sure you just wear this and stick out in the scene a little bit.
Yeah.
Basically, because there's really just like a random person that'll be walking by and they have like a solid green shirt on,
And it'll catch your eye.
and then they have like a solid red shirt, and
Yeah.
then, yeah.
Yeah. It's probably the most colorful film I've ever seen.
Definitely up
Arguably,
there.
I think the only other movie that's like as colorful to me is the Super Mario Brothers movie because of the Rainbow
Okay.
Road scene
I
is
can see
literally
that.
a rainbow.
Yeah.
But filmmaking wise, cinematography
Yeah.
wise, not animation, it's the most colorful
It's
movie.
the only thing I think that competes is Wes Anderson stuff, which
Yeah,
Wes
okay,
Anderson
yeah.
stuff is like meant to be colorful
Yeah.
and stuff like that, you know?
His are like dull, like not dull, but like kind of like grainy
Yeah.
colors, like
Yeah.
a real bright blue kind of looks dimmed down a little bit.
Yeah,
you know?
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know La La Land is a great. Ironically, it's the version that I have on DVD is a Valentine's Day edition, so it's got
Oh my
like a
God.
Valentine, and I got it for Valentine's Day. It's not a Valentine's.
What an awful, what an awful Valentine's Day movie. You imagine going, no, dude, I can see this, bro. Imagine going to the theater with your girl when La La Land came out, and they're like, yeah, babe, let's go see a happy-go-lucky romance movie.
Yeah.
At the end, you're just like, bro, what did we just watch, bro? We just watched the most soul-ripping movie of all time.
Literally, by the time when you go into the movie, you have like a great relationship, and by the end of it, you guys have been divorced. You're like, yeah, we've. By the end of it, you sit there and you go, yeah, I think we know what we want. I think we should see other people. Can you imagine going to see that with your partner and looking over to them and just being, I think we should see other people?
He said, you're holding me back from pursuing my dreams.
Said, I want to be a dancer. Leave me alone. No, but La La Land is an incredible movie. Dude, if you haven't seen it, you have to watch it. Watch it now. Yeah.
Absolutely. So my next movie is a little pretty big horror movie called Silence of the Lambs.
Great
not-
movie.
Not little, definitely a pretty big horror movie.
Huge. Yeah.
Horror slash thriller. It's definitely has I would say compared to Jaws especially, it's a huge thriller film.
Yeah.
There's definitely horror, obviously, but the thrilling aspects of the film are much more in there and in your face than they are with Jaws.
Right.
In Silence of the Lambs, it's obviously following Jodie Foster, who plays a young FBI agent who is trying to do anything basically to prove herself in her field. And her kind of sergeant or whatever sends the trainee FBI agent to go have a conversation with a known cannibal and serial killer, Hannibal Lecter, played by the famous Anthony Hopkins. Mm-hmm. By the way, Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster both won the lead acting categories for the Oscars when the movie came out.
He's only got 8 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, very minuscule amount of screen time. Actually, both the antagonists in the movie, Buffalo Bill and Hannibal Lecter, both aren't in the movie for that long, really, at all. They're both more so kind of like a presence, or Hannibal more so is a presence, but Buffalo Bill definitely feels like a more so kind of like a more real life. Like Hannibal Lecter feels more like a fictionalized serial killer, like someone wrote this guy up in a book or something. And Buffalo Bill feels more real life, feels more problematic, feels more spur of the moment. Yes.
It puts the lotion in the basket and it rubs it in its skin.
But yeah, he definitely very much both of them, I think, very much bring an aspect to the film that was very much needed. In Buffalo Bill's case, it's a grounded, more realistic sense of what a serial killer is like, and kind of showing the audience and stuff what most people's idea of a serial killer was at the time and stuff like that, and still is. And then Hannibal Lecter obviously plays a more cold, calculated, what would now be described as like a basically textbook psychopath character.
Yeah.
He's cold, distant, but he has like intelligence. He's a former therapist, stuff like that. Things that give him an intelligent background, but also he has this malicious intent and stuff like that. It definitely has that fearful. It definitely shows the fear that they're trying to convey with Hannibal Lecter just being a cannibal and being like a serial killer, and he's always a presence that the movie makes sure that the audience is wary of. In Buffalo Bill's case, it's more of like a you're not necessarily afraid of him, but more so like just really appalled by like all the stuff that he's doing and stuff.
Right.
Except for his kind of like final scene or whatever, when he with the night vision goggles and stuff in the house. It's honestly probably one of my favorite parts of the movie. It is that scene with the night goggles in the house. In my opinion, it's the most thrilling part of the movie is Jodie Foster being like right there in Buffalo Bill's grasp, and him like reaching out his hand, but she can't see it or anything because it's like all pitch black and stuff. Man. And he's like breathing right on her and stuff. It's a very intense scene. Very, very big for the movie as well. Yeah. And obviously Hannibal Lecter's like getaway and everything is another huge part of the movie.
Yeah, he wears the dude's face.
Yeah, bro. Literally just some jaw-dropping stuff.
Yeah, in the final moment.
Him, like, biting off a dude's nose. Even though he's, like, they straight up say he's a cannibal, but that doesn't mean that you're expecting dude to just go up to a guy and bite his nose off, Like, that's some crazy stuff. And, but they definitely portray the serial killer kind of perfectly in both ways through Buffalo Bill and Hannibal Lecter. They portray serial killers very well in this movie. Not well as in like they portray them in a good light, but obviously
they're great people.
But obviously very well portrayed in terms of how they are and stuff like that.
Right.
And Jodie Foster obviously gives a very good performance. In fact, I found out of all the kind of young cop cliches, I kind of find Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs to be at least the one that sticks out the most to me, the one that's most memorable. Um, is her role in Silence of the Lambs, because she does a great job, not only at being present with those other big actors like Anthony Hopkins and stuff
Yeah.
in those scenes, but matching them in a lot of ways that aren't like very, they're not like out there, but she matches them in the acting skill and stuff, despite not having as much to go off of,
Right.
despite not being playing a serial killer or a psychopath or whatever. She's playing a much more down to earth, actual human being kind of person, and she does it very well. The movie's the soundtrack and stuff is all very well crafted, well executed in terms of making the audience feel the importance in the scenes and the intensity and stuff like that behind it, and the weight behind it. The stakes were always really high. I felt, I don't know, it's just a very well put together, well crafted thriller slash horror film. It's definitely a must watch. It's another staple in the genre.
Yeah.
I ended up giving. I actually haven't got the Instagram rating for it yet, but I'm thinking about landing at about probably an 8.5 to a 9 out of 10. And
Yeah.
then for Letterbox, it's definitely a 4.5, I think, out of 10, or a 4.5 out of 5 for me.
Yeah.
Very
It's
good movie, must watch.
it's a great. I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember it being very very good. I need to rewatch it with my more mature mind, but I remember it being very good.
Yeah.
Well, my next film was one that we actually already talked about.
Yep.
Was Godzilla vs Kong. Now this movie, it might not seem like it, but it was actually the my first date movie. So I actually saw this movie with my now girlfriend 2 years ago when it came out. Um, a great movie to just kind of have on in the background, I must say.
Yeah.
No, but it's I mean honestly it kind of is, but it's not as bad as everyone makes it seem. I want to start by saying that because it's truly just Godzilla versus Kong, and maybe there should have been more in it, of that.
Yeah.
But it's not Batman v Superman where they fight for 8 minutes and the rest of the movie is them kind of getting along and or not fighting at all. But I think the story and the characters are obviously the weakest part of the film. That goes without saying at all. And this movie has my now second character that matters in this MonsterVerse universe, which is the little girl. She's the only one that matters. Um, my favorite being Ken Watanabe's character from the first Godzilla and the second Godzilla. But the human characters, they focus too much on them, and I think they need to stop. And I think hopefully with this Godzilla X Kong movie, the new Empire, I'm hoping that this movie will be kind of focused more on just the monsters. Probably won't, but I'm hoping that they will. But Godzilla vs Kong, very colorful, but it's a very colorful film. It it actually reminds me, surprisingly, the Hong Kong fight reminds me a lot of John Wick Chapter 4 because of the blend of colors in just in fight scenes, obviously, but like the blend of yellow and pink and red and blue and green and purple and all these different colors that aren't necessarily blended together, but they stand out from each other in each part of the shot that they're in.
Yeah.
Um, the CGI and the visuals are incredible. I mean, Kong and Godzilla look real, obviously. Um, but I like to say, out of the two movies that have come out so far, that are about one superpowered being fighting a being that doesn't have any powers and uses weaponry, uh, the this one's better. Also, surprisingly, Godzilla smiles more than Superman, being the superpowered one. You would think Superman maybe would give more smiles, but no, Godzilla actually physically smiles more. No, but it's simply a fun monster brawl. There's literally no other way to describe it. It's not trying to be anything else. It does a good job world building. It adds a lot more to the monster universe. And I think it's better than people give it credit for. It could have been better, obviously, but it's Godzilla versus Kong. It's just a fun monster mash. It's just a great monster movie.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I think Godzilla, the first one, successfully was a monster movie plus like good story, like good writing, and then King of the Monsters is like the best in just like the monster mayhem category where it's just things smashing into each other. Um, and Kong Skull Island, I think, is pretty good. It probably has the best human characters. I think they're the most enjoyable. Um, but I think this one's the most simple. It's the shortest. I'm pretty sure it's the most simplest one to just throw on, and it's an easy to understand plot. It's Godzilla and Kong fighting each other, and then they team up at the end, and it's just a fun time. I have no issues with this movie that matter.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice. I unfortunately was watching more TV shows this past week, so I didn't get a fifth movie
Okay,
actually.
that's cool. Well, that means I can talk about one of the greatest films ever created, and I'm not even joking. Um, I have seen this movie before, but when I watched it first, I was younger and I didn't really care for it that much. However, upon two rewatches, I watched it twice this week. That's how
Wow.
good this movie is.
Okay.
I watched Forrest Gump. I I love this movie. This is I mean, you probably people have seen this movie. There's not much I need to say, but it's so good. It is literally it obviously is you're following the life of a simple man who he's not the smartest guy in the world. He has some sort of learning disability, but he's so he the movie does a good job of showing awful tragic real life events and things through such a immature and childlike wonder. Like every time somebody it shows somebody famous like John Lennon or JFK, and he'll say somebody shot that nice young man, and it's filled with like a sadness where he is like sad that they got shot,
Yeah.
but it's like a little kid being like, well, why did they
Yep.
shoot him? I don't know why they did this. Why are people so mean? Even Vietnam is viewed in the most childlike, wondrous way, where it's like he goes back in. He's not afraid. Obviously, he goes back in looking for Bubba, and he saves all his crew. He saves
Yeah.
his mates, and it's just a really he doesn't care about orders. Lieutenant Dan told him to not pick him up and take him back, but he didn't care. He's his friend. He's not gonna let someone die.
Yeah.
It's and I think the I don't know. It's he like his relationship with Jenny, which Jenny obviously in the entire there people have clowned on Jenny because she like doesn't realize well she does but she doesn't allow herself to be loved correctly, like how Forrest loves her.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the best part is how it all comes together in the end. Even though she is essentially being like, I'm dying and I have a kid for you to take care of.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what she does. But kind of it's kind of a taking advantage of him. But also, I see it as also like, she's a very real character. She's
Yeah.
very like, I mean, she had a horrible upbringing and then horrible life afterwards because she wasn't taught right from wrong of how to, how she should be treated,
Yeah.
and so it's a very real character. But Forrest Gump is a great movie, great cinematography. The shots when he's running through the when he gets up and he just runs, and it's the shots of the mountains and stuff. I'm not even joking. That entire sequence of him running and just gets up and run, that makes me want to just get up and run. It really makes you kind of just want to leave everything behind and just kind of run across the country. Um, it's a very inspirational movie. I think it's very inspirational to, but not like inspirational get up and go do something, but just to enjoy life and like to see things more positively. And I mean, literally, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. It's like just kind of do anything and everything. Just enjoy life.
Yep.
And I mean, he becomes like a ping pong champion of the world, and he doesn't really. It's so funny how quickly like he just like puts things down.
Yeah.
Like he literally he stops doing ping pong because he's not in the war anymore.
Yep.
So it's really hard to. It honestly is kind of hard to talk about how good this movie is. You really have to, if you haven't seen it for some reason, watch Forrest Gump. It's so good. He literally lives like 100 lifetimes in one.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love how it's implemented into real life events and stuff, and which
Yeah.
is hilarious because that's probably the worst part about the movie is like those CGI recreations of like dead people and like how they implement him into real footage.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's really bad.
Ma'am, you dropped your book, ma'am.
Oh man. Oh, it's
Oh.
it's bad. Yeah. But it's a very small complaint. Like when I think the worst one is, oh man, there's two bad ones. The John Lennon one when he goes on uh I can't remember what, I think it's Ed Sullivan. But when he goes on the talk show and John Lennon's there and they literally just recite the lyrics of Imagine. He's like, in China they don't got any toys or anything. And he goes, no possessions? He goes, yeah, no religion. He goes, no religion too? He's like, one can only imagine. It's easy if you try. It's honestly cringe. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's kind of cringe. Same with the scene when I don't know who it is that he's meeting in the scene, but it's after he gets like shot in the butt, and he's meeting, I believe,
The president.
The president, yeah. And he goes, he's like,
He shows him his butt.
he shows him his butt.
Yeah.
But it's so weird because this recreation
Pretty
of
sure it's Nixon. I think that's the president who he showed it, or who he was supposed to show his butt to.
It might be Nixon, but the CGI recreation of whoever it's supposed to be, if it's Nixon, I can't remember, but like the lip movement is awful because when they show like the people talking and it's real footage but like a CGI mouth,
Yeah.
their heads don't move. It's just their mouth moves and it's really weird, and their facial expressions don't match what they're saying or how they're talking.
Yeah.
And it's the weakest part of the movie, but it's honestly just a funny bit. It's a funny part of the movie because it's not a big issue at
Yeah.
all. No, but this movie is really, really, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful kind of odyssey.
Yep.
Yeah, it is a somewhat odyssey of a simple man who lives an incredible life, a life that, well, somewhat kind of a life that you want to live, but somewhat kind of not, because he literally goes to Vietnam, and I don't think anybody would wish to be in Vietnam. But no, it's incredible. If you somehow haven't seen Forrest Gump, watch it. It So I didn't expect it to make me cry, but it did both times.
Let's just say Forrest Gump beat out Shawshank Redemption and Pulp Fiction in the year it came
Did it
out for the
really?
Oscars. Yeah, it has probably one of the most well deserved. Well, I'm not saying well deserved as in it is like better than those movies, but it beating out two of arguably the best movies of all time is pretty
Literally,
crazy.
all three of those movies are tens. Shawshank,
Yeah,
Pulp Fiction, and Forrest Gump are all tens.
1994, baby.
That was a year. Holy, I wish I was alive during that year for movies. But nah, Forrest Gump, man, watch it.
I think it's safe to say it's probably Tom Hanks' best role.
Oh yeah, it's his best performance.
Yeah.
He's never given a performance as good as this.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, it's so because Tom Hanks usually when you're watching a Tom Hanks film, you can he does get into the character to the point where you're like seeing the character.
Yeah.
He's a good actor, but this is the only time. Yeah, it's like the only time I've ever watched a movie with him and saw Forrest Gump, the character, and I
Yeah.
kind of honestly I had to remember that it was Tom Hanks,
Yeah.
and it's just it's so good. It's so good. I feel like I'm discovering it for the first time, but it really is. It's so
Yeah.
good. I it's in my list of favorites ever. So
Oh.
yeah, usually if it's in my favorites of all time, it probably made me cry. It's kind of how I view a movie, but I have to have enjoyed it the whole time. I can't just like cry at the end.
Yeah.
Great example is Click, the Adam Sandler movie Click. That movie is terrible, and it makes me cry because it's sad at the end. It's
Oh
a
yeah.
sad like climax.
It's very sad
It's
climax.
really sad. Um, but the movie as a whole is not very good, so that it would not be considered like a favorite.
Yeah.
But no, Forrest Gump, incredible. Yeah, it's a beautiful movie.
Yep.
Beautifully crafted. But we have come to the end of this episode. This is the end, my friends. And
Sorry.
sorry,
Had to
I know
be.
you're disappointed.
Maybe look next week. Maybe there'll be a new episode next week. Who knows?
Maybe I'll die. And maybe
Maybe we'll all die.
maybe tragedy will strike.
Maybe a meteor will crash into Earth before next week. Who
Hey.
knows?
If a meteor strikes next week, you can be sure that the Cinemaniacs will be covering that shit.
We're like filming while the meteor's coming down. Hey guys.
It's our last episode.
Cinematography 0 out of 10. Meteor looks like shit.
CGI. That shit fake. It don't look real. No, but thank you all so much for watching. Well, listening.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for listening. We really appreciate if you do. Sometimes I doubt, but we appreciate if you do. You can find us on anything. You can find us anywhere: Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and you can find us separately. I am on Instagram at Maceo Movies.
I'm at Instagram at Loda Reviews.
Yes, and then we can find us both on Instagram at the Cinemaniacs or at Cinemaniacs Pod. I'm on TikTok at Maceo, the Cinemaniacs Podcast, and YouTube at Maceo. Got a lot of links.
Yep.
Thank you all so much for listening this week. We hope to see you next time on the Cinemaniacs Podcast. The Cinemaniacs Podcast.